Okay, how to render by Sato. First of all, you will do the flat colors. So just lay down the flat colors, like what it would look like without any lighting and stuff. Then you add this. This is the shadows from the environment. This is different from the shadows created by the figure, if you get what I mean. For example, in our figure, we will have shadows like this. Okay, wait. Still another hard light. You can use multiply or what for the shadows, but I use hard light because it also makes lighting. So let's pick a dark color. So the shadows from our from just this figure, there's some that should appear here because the neck goes down. And then since his head is covering his clothes, some should appear here as well. Same with Kinoko. Some shadows will appear on the clothes like this, and then in here because the color is in front of the clothes from below. Some should appear here. No, actually no, because the light is from here going here. But you can add that if you want. Shadow here, here, then some should have here and then here. So these are just like the basic shadows. Okay, some goes here as well because this is under the arms. Some here because the color it makes the color pop out. Then some here. You can also add I would add shadows for the chains over here. Okay, but this isn't rendering yet. You're just adding shadows. So I'm gonna fast forward this. So this part should be fast forward. The environmental shadows. Ta-da! So with these two together, you'll have like the actual thing. Problem is, and the thing is, sometimes I already put shadows from the environment. Like the normal shadows, I already apply in the environment shadows, so you can skip both parts. But if you want it to be like, if you want to have like a much proper guide, then you can do that. You can do them separately. So here, I'll just erase some of the excess like this. What else? That's all I know. That's all I know that this is kind of excessive shadow. All right. Now that we've fixed our shadows, I add this to make the colors better, more saturated and brighter, more dynamic. And so we ended up with a flat that looks like this. Flat that looks a bit finished. From here, we will start rendering. My first advice in rendering is the face. Because for me, my focal point is always the face. I want the face to always look good. So the first place I render is the face. Okay. This is how I render, okay? This doesn't always apply, but we group this, duplicate, save yourself a copy, and then you flatten this. So you have this now. Duplicate it, and then merge to like remove any excess like opacity stuff. So no part is transparent. And then, start with Kinoko. What I do is my smudge tool or my blur tool. You can use airbrush. I use textured brush just to make it more pretty, more dynamic for myself. But I'll be using an airbrush for this tutorial. I use this so that I can just blur the lines, so I can reapply them with a much more better line art. You get what I mean? This is how I do my line art. Okay, see, we improve the line art. I've now applied this. Okay, so that's the first step. That's like the first thing that I do. I just blur things that I feel like are ugly or like I feel like could use better line art and just reapply the line art like this. And so the blur will create these things. You can just grab like an opacity or fade pen to like correct those like this. That way you can have much consistent objects and lighting. Ta-da! Okay, I will color more later. For now, I'm just showing how I reapply the line art. So I just do it piece by piece because there's tendencies of me forgetting what things look like before. So I just have to do it piece by piece like this. Ta-da! Eventually, after that, okay, let me fix this. After a few of this and stuff, you will get a much more cleaner line art, and that will be your guide to rendering the colors. So let me just finish this. This part will be time-lapsed, I think, so we'll be good. Okay, for these, just my preference, I prefer having this so that I know that I'm still drawing this properly and like it still looks like the way I drew it before. So I need this reference thingy on the corner just to make sure that I'm doing it right. This is just the line art face. This is how I do line art. I don't do this for the entire thing, by the way. This is just for the face because I really value the cleanliness of the face. I want the face to be drawn in a very clean way. The rest of the body to me doesn't really matter if it's clean or not. I just want the face to be clean because I don't know, that's my art style. I won't color the whole thing. I will just teach how to render this specific part. Okay, once I've done the line art face or something, that's what it's called. Once I've done the line art face, I can now fix the colors. So this is how I do it. Since there are already predetermined colors in the rendering or in the flat color section, like there's already colors here, right? You don't have to choose any more colors in your canvas. You don't have to decide the colors anymore. You can just pick and start coloring, like start filling in these corners. For example, wait, I did a bad job here. Let me close this so it's not confusing. So you can just color this in like this. Use the color nearest to it, like that. Boom. Ta-da. And the reason why the pen I use is this, so that you can make it very light. It's like automatic airbrush, because if I use this lark pen, it doesn't blend. It doesn't blend properly, see? It doesn't blend properly. So I have to use a pen that has a very good blending thing. It's like very soft color pencil type of pen, right? So you can just keep doing this. So here, then here, like this. Then you'll be able to distinguish the color of the hair and the color of the skin. Ta-da. Wait. This isn't cheating. The airbrush thing isn't cheating. I just want it to be smooth. But you don't have to do this. You don't have to make your rendering smooth like mine. my art style just wants a smooth surface. You can make this like it has its own style shading, if that's what it's called. So you can make it like this, like that. See, you can do that. You can do that. Ta-da. Oh, wait, let me grab my other pen here. See, you can do this. You don't have to copy me where I make everything smooth. You can add these things. You can add like this if you prefer. If that's what you like. You can do that. Then for the face, just do the same. You have to make it very, very smooth and consistent. The reason why there's like very dark colors here is because Kinoko's eyes are like dark, right? Like it's just a consistent void color. That's why the rest of the face has like dark colors mixing with it. But those dark colors aren't supposed to be included in Kinoko's skin. Kinoko's skin is like red, not dark red or anything. It's just that it just so happens that her eyes, when I blurred her eyes to create the line art, it made the rest of her face a bit darkened, but it's not supposed to be darkened. See, like that. Let's do it the same. Let's do the same for this one, and then we'll have, in no time, we will have a nicely rendered face. But then again, I will just warn, this process is very long. I myself do not use this process for the whole body. I use it for parts that I want to make beautiful, right? Because there are some parts in your drawing that you don't need to render as long as it's okay looking. But you know, for example, like I'm rendering the face, right? Parts that I wouldn't render normally is just these parts here, over here. So I would probably just blur this like this, and then reline it like this, and then just use those colors to make the shadows. So if the shadow is like this, like that, and then I will use the black to outline like this. Then I will use an eraser to make it more distinct on where the object is. But, this is how I would probably have it. Like to me, this part is kind of finished. I don't want to render this part that much. So the point is, it's the rendering parts is completely your preference. You don't have to render the entire thing. But yeah, in a way, this is still kind of rendering. It's just like, it's like unfinished rendering. If you like, it's like unfinished rendering. It's not like fully rendered parts. If you get what I mean? Something like that. See, actually, I might fix this later. It's not like, it doesn't work. The clothes don't work like that. It's supposed to be like this, like that. Ta-da! And then I will fix that later. But it's not as strict as how I color the face. That's why I'm doing a rendering tutorial on the faces, because this is the only part that I actually focus on rendering. So I hope this is helping. Okay, see, we have a nicely rendered face. Let's make this darker. This is a mouth. Ta-da! And yes, you will be coloring over the lines a bit. No worries, you can just reapply them like this. In fact, you can even make it more beautiful. Another thing you can do to render is coloring in first. For example, in this horn, I will color it in first, like this. Ta-da! So I know where the shadows are. I know where the light is hitting, like this. So I colored it in first, like that, and then I will apply some of the lines. Boom, like that. So I do this. For example, wait, let me do it properly. Okay, this is also a process. You can also do this. This is just so that, because applying the lines first is gonna be more taxing. Look, like let's do a comparison process with this other horn. Sorry, Kinoko, I used to experiment on you. Okay, see, when I blurred it, the colors disappeared. You will become confused on what the colors were. That's why you have to color it. Instead of blurring, this other option is just coloring in as a whole. You're coloring in the object. It's like silhouetting. You're like coloring the silhouette. And then, once you've colored that, you can add the things, the effects. No, once you've done, like you can add these light things and stuff. Okay, and then you add the lines. Boom. The lines here, this. I don't know if the horns are still symmetrical, but it doesn't matter. Okay. See? That's much better than blurring it and then hoping to remember what the colors were, because some people might keep doing the blurring method unaware that it could ruin the colors. It could make the colors disappear in your artwork and you will just get confused on what the colors were. So I only do that in faces such as this because I can remember the colors, or there's more colors inside the face, so at the corners it doesn't matter if the colors get lost. Get what I mean? Okay, it's not this isn't fully done, but that's basically how I render. Okay, what else can I give? What else advice? Actually, the rest of rendering is just cleaning up. So after, those are my ways of cleaning up. So here in the hair, here in the hair, for example, you can blur this like that, and then just add lines. Like these lines aren't really, by the way, line art doesn't have to be perfect. Here's an example. You can just make things like this. Ta-da, like you can make it like that. Because in the end, after you redraw these lines, you will color it in, and it will come out cleaner anyway. Like this. Ta-da! It'll come out cleaner, so you don't have to worry about making line art messy, clean. Plus, you can erase. Look, ta-da! It's as if it was never messy to begin with. So that's method 3. You can use that method. You can use the other method. You can use whatever method you want. Boom! Just keep coloring and cleaning up, and then just erase the parts that are making it look messy. If you want it to be clean, then you can erase these parts. But personally, these parts give it life. You know, I don't know. Like just the messy line arts sometimes give the drawing life. So I would tend to draw over, like after I render like that, I would just draw over lines just to make it, you know, a bit more artsy. I don't know, it just feels a bit more like an artwork if it has messy human lines. What else? The rest of that I'm doing is, okay, you can just watch me color and apply the things that I've taught in this rendering process, because I don't know what else to say. That's basically it. That's basically how I render. Okay, how about we skip rendering the entire thing? Okay, what happens after rendering? After rendering, what happens? For example, ignore that. We don't need to focus on this part. We have to know what happens after rendering. After rendering, for example, in this phase, I've finished rendering. What else happens after? Wait, it's not finished rendering, by the way. That's why I'm like pausing and like doing random shit. No, it has to be here. Ta-da. Sometimes the shadows on the hair, like these, it doesn't have to match how the lighting actually works. You just don't want it to look like you extended like this. That's why I have to make it a bit off like that. Ta-da. Also because that's how hair works. Your hair is like in front of your face. Like your hair, like this is your face, right? This is your face. Your hair isn't like this, so the shadow isn't just directly under. Your hair is over here, so your shadow is like off. You know? If you get what I mean, I hope you get what I meant. Okay. After rendering, you'll be like, okay, what happens next? What happens next is you just keep playing with effects. Maybe. For example, I've finished rendering and I'm not satisfied with how it turned out. I can just add more effects, like the add layer. Oh, this is good. This is a good idea. The add layer makes things glow better. So you can add these if you want. You can add it. You can add it here and the horns, just to make the horns glow. If you want it to glow, that is. You can add it here. And is this still okay? It's not an add layer. There. Just make things glow. So I use the add layer to make things glow. I use the add layer to just make things glow. Another thing that I do is this. So I duplicate the render area or the rendered artwork. I go to exclusion and then I lower it a bit this way. I don't know how to explain, but it like simplifies the artwork a bit. Okay, and then you'll be like, oh, but it desaturates. So I just do this. Go to curves and I will just adjust the gamma so that the saturation comes back to life. Boom. See, isn't it beautiful? So the saturation came back to life and it's so much more better than before. Personally, okay? Personally, it's so much better than before. So that's another thing. I don't know what number I am at this rendering tutorial, but I think that's all I can give. Yeah, that's all I can give. That's how I render. So just, yeah, I hope you guys learned something.